Excellent. I think we are live. Leka, it is so nice to have you. I am really excited today to really dive deeper into why an agent should even care about this. I think that it's such a crazy market. I mean, you have a better pulse than I do. What are agents saying, or what do you think agents are struggling with? It's kind of a weird January.
It is. And I am, first of all, Sarah, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. We are in the Seattle market. And for me personally and the brokers in my office, there's no inventory.
Yeah.
So this January, like it's a struggle. If you have a buyer looking, then every house has multiple offers, sometimes even 35 offers. And then you're just scrambling to find something that is even marginally acceptable, but that's just how it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wrote an offer last week for myself personally. It was a triplex listed at 189 and I wrote the offer for 302 and I didn't get it.
Wow, that's insane. What market?
Yeah. That was in Omaha, Nebraska.
So
So,
crazy.
yeah, so every market's feeling it.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you that are just joining us, what we're going to hop on and talk about today is really why an agent should even think about working with investors. And one of my favorite things to talk about is multiple income streams because I believe that all of us, agents especially, should be building wealth alongside income. I don't like saying build wealth, not income, because let's be honest, we like income, but we really want to be focused on wealth. And so, Leka, I'm so excited to have you. For those of you that don't know, you are a real estate developer, broker, and investor based in the Seattle, Washington area. And you left your corporate job, gosh, what, 7 years ago, 6 years ago?
Yeah, 6, 7 now.
Yeah, 7 years ago. And you're in real estate full time and you're wearing a lot of different hats. And so, what I'm most excited to talk about is really last year. You did a lot of things for the first time, as I kind of learned. And so, before kind of from 2014 until 2019, you had really focused on building up your flip business
Right.
alongside your brokerage. And so, about how many houses have you flipped as of today?
Oh, as of today, I want to say closer to 50 homes.
Incredible. So 50 homes in the last 6 years. And I think that first year, did you do less than five, maybe one house the first year and then scaled from there? Or kind of what did it look like to go from corporate America to flipping houses?
Yeah, so the first year I really, just worked on setting up my company, setting up my um, deal flow pipeline. And so I started really flipping homes in September that year in 2014. And over the course of that 1 year, through the next September, I had done about 8 homes.
Incredible.
I know, so scary to think about that. But
Yeah,
I,
but I joke it's like getting your PhD in real estate. And so that
it
first
is, it really
couple
is.
of years is like that. And so fast forward to 2020, what are some of the things that you dove into last year? I know that you now have experience with acquisitions, land development. I think you've done additions, and ADU, which a
Mhm.
lot of people probably aren't super familiar. I think that's really popular in the Seattle market, whereas less so nationwide. And
Right.
so, what did last year look like for you in 2020?
So last year was a crazy year because obviously we were in the middle of a pandemic, but also it was a lot of things that I had been working on that was finally coming to an end, which, obviously all started much before last year. Like you said, I did have a subdivision that I had been working on for almost 3 years at that point, and we finally got our final plat recorded in the middle of last year. So I was able to sell them by the end of the year. Then I had started work permitting process for an addition back in 2019 also, and that permitting took so long. Like it was 8 months just to get our permits, and then our construction started, and the governor shut construction down because of the pandemic. So that took another 8 months. So that also, got done last year. Additionally, I did my first 1031 exchange, bought a property in Seattle, and then a bunch of flips. So yeah, it was a big year. And I also host a monthly meetup group, an in-person meetup group, which we had to take um, you know virtual. So that was another big transition. But all in all, it was just such a good year, because we were able to get a lot done.
Incredible. And I'm just thinking, I mean, when you talk about these permitting processes, and I think a
Mhm.
lot of people get stuck on that. A lot of agents are like, "Oh, it just sounds like a lot of work." And so what I love is that you've really diversified your income streams so that an extended permitting process, while it's not ideal, it didn't really devastate or disrupt your income.
No, it didn't. And, we are in a hot market. Everybody wants to build. With the whole ADU and DADU laws that have just gone into place. So, if you don't know that, Seattle approved ADU laws, which means if your lot size is above 5,000 square feet and you can accommodate an additional unit, then you can go build an accessory dwelling unit or either a detached or an attached. And so, because of that law, a lot of investors started flooding the cities with, their permits. And so it's just been a crazy year for permitting. And my project was in the city of Shoreline. So, and they have like two permit technicians. And so, it just takes that much longer. But Sarah, you bring up a really good point. If I was only banking on that one project, then it would have been super hard to make any kind of income. But the way I've structured my business is that I can make money while I'm not working.
I love that. I almost want to repeat that. I can make money when I'm not working. And for real estate agents, I think a lot of agents get into the business because they're like, wow, it's so sexy. I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to make my own hours. I'm going to be my own boss. And don't get me wrong, I love being an agent. And I think that some
Mhm.
of those things are true. But the truth is that you then have about 5 to 20 different bosses, depending on how many clients you have at any given time. And so, with the difficult market that we're in, how are you able to still create income or have money come in when you're not working? Kind of walk us through what do your income streams look like, especially in a tough market right now with inventory so low?
Yeah. So, I started my flipping business, like we spoke about that, in 2014. I didn't get my broker's license till 2017, and that was intentional because I didn't want to focus on something else that would take my attention away from my flips. And so it took me a good 3 years to get my bearings right. And I didn't want to mess that up because, everything can go wrong in this business. And that's just not the path I wanted to go down. So in 2017, I got my broker's license and I really only got it to service my own company. So I could buy homes, sell homes, walk in and out of homes. That was the big thing. I didn't have to wait for someone else to open a door. If it had an MLS key box, like I just wanted to walk in and out of homes. But that kind of the word spread that I was now a real estate broker. And that got my friends excited about it. They started reaching out to me for investment properties. So then I started helping a whole bunch of people buy, fix, and sell homes. So that just became a second stream of income. Then also in 2017, I heard about the BRRRR strategy through Bigger Pockets and other, spaces. But I was like, that just sounds unbelievable and not doable at all. So I started researching it. And sure enough, like if you got the right deal, if there was the right amount of equity build up, it was in a good rental market, then it was possible to do a BRRRR. And so I started focusing on that and I started building out that portfolio. And given the prices in Seattle, like you just have to make sure that it's a really well positioned BRRRR. Otherwise, you're just not going to make money. While the asset is appreciating, you can just be putting in money every month to keep it alive. So I started doing BRRRRs. And then of course, I also have like retail buyers and sellers that I help buy and sell homes for. So that was just yet another form of income.
Incredible. And I love the story that we've talked about an agent kind of saw what you were doing, a successful agent, I should say, saw what you were doing with flipping and thought, man, that just like, why are you doing that? Like, we can make more money selling homes. I mean, the commission
Yeah.
alone on a reasonably priced home in Seattle is pretty significant. And so, I guess, tell us why working the flips alongside your commissions is really the business that you've kind of built for yourself.
Yeah. The truth is that I really can't afford to be on someone else's time. It just gives me the flexibility to do so many cool things, so many different things because I'm really managing my own time. And like you said, like if I had 15 buyers and 15 sellers, I would be on their time. So as much as you think this is, an independent business and you're driving your own income, you're driving your own sales, you're really on someone else's time. So to supplement that, I am always doing a flip here and there because first, I think I now, I'm good at flipping homes. I have a team in place. I have a good um, deal flow pipeline. I have a good listing broker if I'm not listing the properties. So given all those pieces, it just doesn't make sense for me to not. Plus, it is such a good market that there's no inventory that even if I'm able to produce one home or two homes where there's 100 buyers and no properties for them to look at, then I'm somehow adding value back to the community. And that's kind of cool. Um, with flips here, like I don't technically like over the last couple of years, like I don't do any projects that are less than 100 or 150K in profit. And so that just helps me not have to work with that many buyers and sellers, right?
Exactly,
Um,
because how many homes would you have to sell to make a
make
hundred
that
thousand?
much. Yeah,
Yeah, and especially our investor agents in different markets. I mean, you
right,
guys, how many houses would you have to sell to make $100,000 worth of commission? And instead, you can flip one to maybe three homes in that same time period.
right.
And I mean, let's be honest, hopefully, if you're getting really good at it, you're putting in less hours.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. Like I flipped a home last year and I was out of the country for 3 out of the 5 months that I held the property. And we made a killing on it. But that's because I have all the pieces to the puzzle figured out. And it just goes like clockwork. So it takes a while. It definitely takes some time to set that up. But having been here in the business for a considerable amount of time, I finally feel like I have those pieces put together.
Absolutely. And what a value add to your client. I mean, if I'm working with you, even as a residential client, I'm so excited that you know exactly how much things cost to repair, the connections that you have. If I need a general contractor or
Mhm.
subcontractors, you're adding so much value to your clients, even on the residential side. And so I think that that's like an incredible value proposition that, frankly, an investor agent has that a regular residential agent doesn't have.
Yeah, and that is a huge piece, right? Because I just feel like when I walk in a house and someone says, "Oh, I don't like that carpet, and so I don't want to buy this house." I'm like, no, no, that takes 2 minutes to fix. My contractor can be in here tomorrow. We can have your carpet replaced. But to say it or to do it with that much confidence, you have to have that construction background. And that's where investor agents are so much we're more better positioned than your regular brokers because another thing that I often see is say my friends use a different broker other than me, they're still sending me their form 17s to look over and they're like, hey, do you see any red flags here? What should we be what are the big ticket items? And that's just something that if you don't have your own construction knowledge, you cannot figure that out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And what would you say to an agent that probably doesn't even know that they need to be working with investors, even if it's not their full-time focus, they don't become a necessarily an investor specialist. What do you say to the new green agent? Maybe they've been in the business for a couple of years, even they're closing 10 to 15 million. What do you say to them that, hey, you really need to be working with investors, and here's why?
Okay, so when you work with a buyer or seller, that's one transaction, right? One buyer is one transaction, one seller is one transaction. When you work with an investor, you can help them buy a house. That's one transaction. Then you can help them sell the finished product, which is a second transaction. So with one investor, you have two transactions. Now, that investor is not going to stop at one home, especially if you found them the right deal. So then what you're going to do is find them a second deal and a third deal. And so with one investor, you can really do about 10 deals. But a buyer or a seller, they're not selling 10 homes a year or buying 10 homes a year. Yes, they can refer you to their friends, their family, but how long does that take? And how many more personalities do you have to deal with? So super important to go find those investors. Here's the other thing too, right? As an agent, you have, you're the first person to see a product before it even hits the market. You have the capability of analyzing properties because you're comping properties all the time. So then it's easy to analyze a deal to say, okay, is this what is the after repair value going to be? What is it priced at? What does the seller want for it? So can this work as an investment property for someone or a rental property for someone else? So it's super important to start working with investors. And if you don't directly have an investor contact, go out and network and find investors and just shadow them. They may already have a broker, but if you can go shadow them and see how they're flipping properties, what the construction process is like, you're giving yourself an edge up over all those other brokers that are not doing that, that are banking on their, for like their sphere of influence to find them, to use them to buy and sell properties.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, I want to make sure that we invite everyone to the Investor Agent Summit. It's happening really soon in 3 weeks on February 18th through the 20th. And you are one of the speakers. You'll be talking more about your timeline and really how you've created multiple streams of income, including some incredible case studies, I believe, which I'm really excited for people to share because I think that what you've done with subdividing and plats, like that really just absolutely blows my mind. Of course, I've heard you speak on other podcasts about it, and I just think it's really cool. And then exactly what you just said, we have someone speaking on how to find investor clients. We
Right.
actually did a Facebook Live yesterday where Jennifer Beatles challenged people to add 100 investors to their database in the next 30 days. And I think it's absolutely possible. Everything is moved online, making like where the investors hang out pretty easy. I know that you're really active on Bigger Pockets, and that's where a lot of them are hanging out. And
Yeah,
so we encourage you guys, everyone, get a ticket. It's free to attend this 3-day virtual event, the Investor Agent Summit. And as you've heard, even every single agent should be working with at least one investor.
absolutely. That'll teach you so much.
So much. Yeah, we're really excited. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for hopping on today. I will link the invitation to the virtual summit, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for having me. And yes, see you in a couple of weeks. That'll be a good event. So make sure to attend.
Thank you. Have a good day.